Hi everyone, Fran here. I just had the most interesting Hopenning interview with an eco artist who is a Canadian Iranian who uses her art to make people aware of the environment and what we're doing in it. She talked about plastic, about how so much of our products are wrapped up in plastic. Here, my fridge. Look, look it. Spinach. So much plastic. Salad. More plastic. More plastic. More plastic. And there's plastic in there. And plastic in the back. She really made me think differently. She said that the average North American has 150 kilograms. That's about 330 pounds of plastic waste a year. It's a really interesting interview about how she's making people more aware. I hope you watch it. Talk to you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning. This is the place where hope is happening. And it's been a long time coming, but I finally have my friend Parisa Golchoubian here with me today. Welcome, Parisa.
Thank you, Fran. I'm excited to be here.
You know, I've been trying to catch up to you for so long, and you are totally nomadic. You like flit from place to place, and I finally nailed you down here from Thailand. You're coming to me from Thailand.
I am, yes. It has been a while since we've been trying to catch each other. I'm currently in Chiang Mai, so a little bit north of Thailand.
Yeah, but you are a dual Canadian and Iranian citizen, aren't you?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. And so I always ask this of all my guests, Parisa. You've traveled to many, many countries, 26 countries. You've lived, you've worked, you have a multiple amount of degrees behind you, but you weren't always what you are right now. If I were to ask your best friend in high school what he or she would say about you in high school, how would they describe you?
It's an interesting question. Back in high school, I would say I was always the good kid. Like I was the one who always was top of the class, always studying really hard. I was the timid one, I would say. Like I didn't, I had dreams and aspirations, but I really worked hard to um, be accepted in whatever criteria of like society at the time was in. And I spent my high school in Iran, so you can imagine like it was very different from, say, Canada that I've also lived in a lot. So yeah, always trying to keep quiet, trying to not break too many rules. I did really well in school, and I had plenty of friends, but I would definitely not say I was the rule breaker. That happened later in life.
And you did start to break the rules because I can imagine from an Iranian background, like the friends that I have that were born or raised in Iran are very well educated and very professional jobs, which you started out into. You have multiple degrees and you are a mechanical and systems engineer. But from where you started, you've changed, you've evolved into something I would consider much broader and much more humanitarian based. That's why I have you on the show. The show is called Hopenning, and you had your master's degree in autonomous vehicles. So what happened? What happened, Parisa? You have a master's degree in engineering in something that's so, well, I would say different from what you do now. Tell us a little bit about that history and then how you evolved into something I think greater.
Absolutely. So this actually ties very perfectly with what we were talking about when it comes to my high school years, because I did really well in school, And then I got into top university in Iran as my undergrad. And there's an entrance exam for universities in Iran. It's nationwide. It's a big deal. And I did really well there. And I was able to get into any school, any major I wanted. And I decided to pursue mechanical engineering and did well there as well. And then I got into University of Waterloo in Canada. That is a really top engineering school as well. Did my master's there in systems design engineering. I was working on electric vehicles at the time. And then after I graduated, almost instantly, I got what I assumed at the time was my dream job. So I got the role that I was studying towards for many years, as you can imagine, like undergrad and master's. And it was very aligned with what I was studying. We were working on autonomous vehicles. And that was really when things started to go wrong for me because I started questioning. I got to a point, and this is like around the time I was also hitting 30, so I think there's something there as well. I started questioning things in life in general, and I went through something that I kind of think it was a quarter life crisis, if you will, because up to that point I had done everything quote unquote right, like what the society had told me to do to be successful and to be accepted and all that. And I had by those means achieved that. I had a good paying job. I had achieved everything I had studied and worked so hard towards, but somehow I wasn't happy. And I started questioning like what is going on? I did what you guys told me to do. Why am I not granted that happiness and satisfaction at the end of the rainbow, you know? So
Mhm.
that was when I started questioning things, and it was a really tough time. And it eventually brought me to the point that I made the tough decision to quit. And most of my friends thought I was crazy. And I didn't know what I was gonna do next. And I just started solo traveling to find some answers. And I solo traveled for 3 months. I went to Europe, Mexico, and after meeting so many people on the road, other nomads, and people who were running their own business and just like living life on their own terms, things started shifting for me. And old dreams came back to life. And I started to really think about like, what do I want to do? And how do I want to live? And the rest is history.
So you say that old dreams came back to life. So originally, what did you dream of being? I'm a former teacher. I taught elementary students, and they say that if you ask a 12-year-old what they want to do for the rest of their lives, that's the job they should pick, right? Because we get swayed by money or society or what's the hot thing to be doing right now. But the 12-year-old is usually what they want is what the 25-year-old, 35, whatever, and so on. So, what was it? What was it that was your original dream?
Yeah, so I was always the type of kid, I was a creative kid. I was always crafting, always creating art, always had my hands in a bunch of different projects that were never done. So I was very creative, and this showed up in all sorts of different formats. I also couldn't stick to one thing I wanted to be growing up. And there was so many things I wanted to do and explore. I particularly remember one class back in school, I think I was around 12 as well, where my teacher asked me what I want to do. And I said, I want to be a world explorer. And I remember him looking at me funny as if like, okay, but like, how are you gonna make money? So at the time, it didn't register that like we need to actually make money doing work, I guess. So I just kind of brushed it off, but like that comes back to me. And when I think about like what I wanted to be growing up, I also think like a lot of those different elements that I wanted are all kind of coming together in what I do today. Because today also I don't stick to one. I have four businesses and I have my hands in multiple projects. So a lot of that same energy is showing up in what I do today.
So in 2019, you made that career change and you started to do your nomadic traveling. You met people along the road that encouraged you to do what your heart's desire was. But then 2020 hit and COVID. So how did that change?
Yeah, so you can imagine that with COVID hitting, nothing went according to plan. So I quit my job. I went solo traveling. I was inspired, had a bunch of business ideas, and most of them were around engineering still. Like it was still that I wanted to do something tech related according to my background. And there was particularly one idea around ocean cleanup that kind of was like the big one that I wanted to pursue. And I've always been an environmentalist my whole life. So like talking about like things I've been into since I was a kid, like that whole environmentalism has always been something that's been very active in me. So 2019, quit, had this idea, and then COVID happened, and everything as far as like startup incubators were closed. No, like no one investors were talking to anyone. Everyone, we were all kind of in a state of flux. Like everybody was waiting to see what the market would even become. Like and there was a very what we perceived as like transitional market. So we didn't know what it's going to be. So I kind of decided to wait on any ideas that I had. And in the meantime, I was bored and jobless and at home, and I just kept painting. Like I felt canvas after canvas after canvas. And at some point, our apartment was like full of canvases. I had a friend actually challenge me to start selling them. And I didn't have the confidence at the time. So at first I brushed it off, but then like secretly opened a new Instagram account for my art and secretly launched a website. And to my surprise, I started selling. And it was a very special time, COVID, because everybody was at home and everybody was looking at their walls and their decor and interior design sales in general kind of went up during that time. So I kind of got that lucky break as well because I started at that time. So I sold pieces and that built my confidence and that also fueled me to learn more about selling art online. So I went to all sorts of different marketing events online and started asking people and learning and taking courses around business and marketing art and all those things. And the more I sold, the more other artists started to ask me how I was doing it. And so I slowly started to like telling other artists about my strategies, and they were mostly impressed with my website. And I mean, I'm a techie, so like the website was pretty easy for me to build. But the artists asked me if I could do that for them, and then I said yes to one project, yes to another, and slowly my web design agency, Artistech, which still to this day exists, and it's actually grown. We have a team now where we serve artists specifically with their website needs. That business kind of came about during that same time. And then from that, another business, which is Artterra, my creative studio, came about where it started as an online art gallery where we represented other artists and sold their work. But that also has now grown into a creative impact studio, which we take on all sorts of different social and environmental projects around art and technology. It's the overlap of art and technology with the whole mission of supporting social and environmental causes. And then last year, um, that original idea of ocean cleanup came back to me in Bali. And since then, I've been pursuing that. And that is my latest project at the very moment, where we are building towards solutions in AI and robotics to clean the oceans.
And that to me is super fascinating. When I read about it on your website, yeah, you're in the initial phases of it, but you have a quote, before we can clean it, we have to understand it. So, like, can you describe what you're actually doing with the plastics in the ocean cleanup?
Absolutely. So it is very surprising how little we know about our oceans in general. There's a famous quote in this space that we know more about Venus and Mars than our own oceans.
Mhm.
And that is very true. The amount of data that we have is very limited. And what we are essentially doing at this stage, we are using satellite imagery as the most continuous form of data that we have. And we are using AI to be able to detect from the satellite imagery what is plastic and what is not plastic. And then we're also feeding all sorts of other data we can find from the ocean through partnerships and collaborations that we're building to feed this AI to ultimately build the first intelligence layer of ocean plastic that exists. Once we have a better understanding of where the plastic is, where it's coming from, where it's leaking from, how it's moving around, and how it's impacting ecosystem, then we can put a better plan towards how to clean it or where to stop it first before it enters the ocean. So there's a little bit of a more than a little bit. There's a big data and knowledge gap between that. So I'm a believer that any effort that goes into it before we fully understand is not going to be as effective. So that's why in this phase, most of our effort is towards just understanding.
Yeah, that is important because it's not all equal. I mean, we have currents and we have certain systems that are moving in our on our Earth that do direct plastics to a difference to certain spots, and there's certain consumers in certain parts of the world that are dumping more plastics. So I think that you've got it there where if you can figure out where it's mostly coming from, you can get it before it starts causing all the problems. So you also work with environmental change on land. So, can you tell us a bit about the projects that you've done in certain countries, such as Colombia, where you actually did some focus on a certain community or a certain neighborhood in a particular country?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very passionate about art as a form of activism, also known as artivism. So I think that art has so much power when it comes to change. As someone that comes from the engineering, data, very grounded approach background, I am always amazed by the power, the soft power of art. Because I think we humans, we have data and we love to understand, but at the end we make decisions from our heart, and that is really where art lands. So I'm a believer that in order to really make change, we need to engage people emotionally. And art is the perfect medium for that. People are so much more receptive to having conversations around changing behavior and just understanding when there's a soft element of art. And aside from that, through my nomad travels, and I mean, one of the reasons I love nomading so much is that I just love getting to know different cultures and people. And art is my way to, it's my entry point. So anywhere I go, I get engaged with the art community. I either take a course or a workshop where I just connect with artists there and introduce myself as an artist, and all sorts of different fun collaborations have stemmed from this. The particular project from Colombia that you mentioned was exactly that. So Colombia, Medellin, has multiple neighborhoods, and there's one neighborhood called Comuna 13, which has this history of transformation through art. It used to be one of the most dangerous places in all of Latin America, but through the power of art, and by art I mean murals, hip hop, and all of that, it has transformed into an art scene and is one of the most touristic places in all of Colombia right now. So I was really fascinated by that story, the transformation that art had inspired. So when I was there, I connected with the art community and I proposed that I want to use this scene as a way of telling an environmental story. And I connected with an artist called Usuga, which is a well-known artist in that community, and shared some designs and ideas, and he was very interested. So we started painting. The idea of the mural was essentially to be an underwater scene where first it feels very familiar. It feels like a scene you would see out of a Disney animation movie like Little Mermaid or say Finding Nemo. You would feel I would feel very familiar, but then once you start looking closer, you actually see plastic weaved into the coral. And you would start to notice like the reality of the ocean. And this was also a community where it's there's always children around, there's always children playing in the streets. So it just by the act of painting this in that environment, it got a lot of engagement and a lot of questions. Children started asking questions. Tour guides passing by would have people ask us questions, and as I said, people were very receptive. So they started asking, understand, trying to understand, and then I would weave in some of the data in there through the conversation. Like, did you actually know that only 9% of plastic is recycled? Like, like these all this information like came about much more naturally, and people were more receptive to it as we were talking about a mural. And then I also opened it up for other people to come and join and paint a little piece of the mural that also kind of made it go a little bit viral at the time because everybody kind of felt that the mural was theirs. That led to like a street cleanup, that led to a music video, that led to some press, and in general, it kind of rippled out, which surprised me as well. And that just really shows the power of art that it can, I always start a project, I never know where it ends. It always surprises myself.
It's amazing. What a beautiful story. Because you took your passion, which is art and it's creativity, and the engineering background, the digital background, and you took it to the heart and to a community, that wasn't yours, and started building and creating something beautiful. You started their own activism movement. So you can exit and they continue your idea, your passion. Actually, they take it over and they make it better and bigger and stronger and deeper into more hearts. Like that. That's amazing. That's a beautiful story of hope. You also have a documentary that you've created. Tell us a bit about the documentary.
Yeah, so under Artterra, my creative studio, one of the things we do are documentary series and short film. So through the years, we have created small series of artists that we've represented through Artterra, um, telling more of their stories because art is, again, art to me is beyond just a pretty, like aesthetically pleasing thing. It's really their story. There's what makes you move. That's really what I love about art. So bringing a lot of these stories to life has been the goal of these documentary series that we've put together to tell stories of like why an artist creates what they create, what inspires them, why this of all things are they creating. And bringing all of that to life has been really, for myself, fascinating to learn more about. And from that, that has kind of led to another documentary that is in the works. We're working on it. And that is really the story of kind of weaving all of that into my own travels. So as I travel and as I get to know so many artivists around the world who are using the power of art to bring about stories of transformation and really healing. I see it ultimately this act of creating art as a form of healing ourselves and our planet. So bringing more of that to this in the documentary to amplify the message really is my goal with that. And it weaves in my own nomadic journey and how I find these artists, how I engage with the art community to build projects like the one in Colombia and to tell all those stories as we go.
Have any more stories similar to like the Columbia artwork of either what you've participated in or what another artist has done? Just because I find it fascinating. It's doing what you love, but it's also stemming a movement of change, a positive change.
Yes, Yes, I do have more stories. The Medellin one was definitely the one that grew to become the biggest one, and it hasn't stopped either, as you mentioned, Fran. Like, it's very interesting with the Medellin one. There was the community has since opened an art shop beside the mural, and now they're selling merch of the mural, and there are other artists as well. And they've invited me back to do more work with them. And this is where, like, under my business Artterra, we are now planning an art festival with this community where in October of this year we plan to invite international artists in one dedicated street in Medellin for all artists to come and paint and tell their stories of their own communities, really sharing more of like the humanitarian, the social causes that every artist cares about, and bringing it all to like this one scene that we can then amplify through the power of documentaries and video and film, but also just the festival itself. But to answer your question about other stories, there's another one that I am really passionate about, and that is when I was visiting Oaxaca in Mexico. So Oaxaca also is a has an art scene on its own. The city has so many galleries. It's like really one of the places that, as an artist, I find so much inspiration there. There's also a lot of murals, but they have this particular printmaking technique called grabbado, which has a history again of transformation uh, they use this format of printmaking where they install them on walls. So they make these big prints in their studio, and then because it's an act of rebellion, they need to be able to like install these quickly. So a mural won't work. It takes too long. So they make these prints, and then they just attach them to the wall. And there's so many stories of like how they have used this art as a form of a movement to stand up to different causes. And when I was there, I took a workshop. I really wanted to explore this medium. I took a workshop, and I got noticed by the artists there because I was creating a lot of environmental art again around oceans and plastic and stuff like that. And they were very interested, and we started having conversations. And they have invited me to come and build a big piece for their city, which I still haven't been able to go back to Oaxaca. I'm very much looking forward to that. But definitely want to go back, definitely want to do more there. And I honestly can't wait to see what would come out of this one.
Well, it's a bit of a Banksy idea, isn't it?
It
Where
is.
you create and it's beautiful and yet it's purposeful. It's there because you're trying to make a statement. It's not a landscape. It's a statement. And especially, I'm not sure about Mexico so much, but in countries where uh, it's difficult to make a statement because of the politics or whatever is socially going on in the country. I think having that type of exhibit, that type of a mural is really change making. So it's going to be exciting if you do get a chance to go back to Oaxaca and actually do it because on your website, I think I did see the grabello. Can you explain what your grabello looked like just for our viewers?
Yeah, so I made two pieces, particularly around my environmental mission. One of them is, I call it earth bagged. So it's the earth, our planet, in a plastic bag, which is really talking about the suffocation that we're causing the planet through plastic. And it's almost like we've tossed the planet into like a garbage bag and we're like throwing it out as if we have a planet B.
Mhm.
Um, and the other one is a whale inside a plastic bottle. So like, yeah, so it's again playing around with this idea of plastic and how we are suffocating it and just pretending like again we have a planet B to run off to.
I think that students could really grab onto this, like youngsters, young people, that are still in kindergarten to grade 12, grab onto this idea and really decide for themselves that this is not the way they want their world to be and actually make those movements. Um, I mean, change that happens in older people too. Once you get past, usually, once you get past a certain age and you've realized that money is not the answer to happiness, and then I think older people get involved in that, but the youth, if we can grab them young. Have you been doing any work within schools or with youth?
I love that you mentioned that because I'm currently working on a few projects and I don't know how much I can share. But there there are some projects that we are looking at, yes, that age group, like up to 12.
Wow.
And again, around the idea of oceans in general and marine conservation. There is a project that I'm working on actively with the Canadian Museum of Water. And we are building some very exciting stuff that, again, I don't know how much I can share just yet, but there are stuff happening. Um, I've also been invited to do a mural for Toronto Climate Week, where we can get more youth involved. Trying to figure out my travel schedule to see if I can make it during that time. But I would love to do more stuff in Canada because funny enough, most of these art projects come about while I'm traveling. As I said, it's a form of me connecting to that community. But now I'm starting to get more recognition in Canada and being invited to participate in more activities inside the country, which I mean I'd love to. And and youth are definitely I agree with you. They're the way in. Like we want if we want to see sustainable change, I think we do need to really have more projects for that age group.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Curriculums, all that, text, put it in the textbooks, right? I don't even know if we have textbooks about this yet. And that is a horrible thing, however. So the Blue Friday and the Moon Bloom, what are those campaigns or the summits?
Yeah, so the the Blue Friday was a campaign that I ran under Artterra as a counter movement to Black Friday. So Black Friday is one of the times in the year. I think the honestly, like we have the most amount of consumerism and plastic waste during Black Friday, and it was kind of a movement to flip the narrative and start questioning that and raising awareness around that, and also saying, okay, like instead of using like having this weekend where we are creating so much plastic and polluting our oceans, what if we actually put our money towards a cause that would clean the oceans? So flipping that narrative. And Blue Friday, I'm not the inventor of Blue Friday. It's been around for a few years. It actually started in it's like now there's other countries that are involved in it as well, but it actually started in Canada a few years ago. And it was a group of small businesses that decided to put some of the money that they make during Black Friday weekend towards cleaning the ocean. With Artterra, I wanted to go even bigger. Like I wanted not to just like spend like put some of the money that we made during Black Friday towards this, but I wanted the whole campaign to be on this. So that's like what made it go a little bit bigger. And we talked about, as I said, like let's just completely switch the narrative. So I put together an earth box, is what I called it. It was a box of environmental friendly products, no plastic, and it was all my own art on different products. We had a tote bag, we had a recycled notebook, we we had pillow cases, which are not plastic. They are made from a biodegradable material for phone cases. And it was like an entire package that would be the perfect holiday gift box as well. And the whole idea was that we would donate 100% of the proceeds of this to the oceans, that being um, NGOs that we partnered with. So a good chunk of it went towards NGOs, and there were varieties. I kind of started like when I started talking about this, like a number of big NGOs said yes. Everybody was very excited about it. So we had a big partnership with a network of partners that all pushed for this as well, which was really nice. And we kind of like it kind of became a whole movement as well around instead of buying stuff that we're not going to use in a year, because also data shows that most stuff you buy during Black Friday ends up in the garbage dump in less than a year. Instead of that, let's actually buy a gift box that is environmental friendly and where the proceeds of 100% go to the ocean instead.
And Moonbloom, what's that Moonbloom Celestial Summit?
Yes, that was a summit we also held under Artterra in collaboration with the Moonbloom Studio. And that was all around healing and using the power of arts for healing. And we had speakers, we had all sorts of different creative workshops and music, and it was like a whole there was a few days where we just dedicated time under Artterra and our team. We brought together people to really use art as a form of healing. And we hope to continue that as well. It was very well received, and we hope to make it a regular thing we can do under Artterra every year.
Was it a digital? Was it a virtual summit?
It
Wow,
was a virtual summit. Yeah. We had people from all around Canada, a few from Europe, but yeah,
wow,
we had.
that sounds fascinating. So, is there anything that you're working on right now that we haven't talked about yet that you can tell us about that is that's more public than some of the other stuff that you've worked on?
So my web design agency, Artistech, where I work on, I help artists with their websites and selling work online. That has been going on since the very beginning. It really grew organically, and it is now going through a little bit of a revamp, which I'm excited about. For the longest time, it was just me, but now I have a team. So we have a team of three right now that we're building artists' websites, and for the longest time, I've had this idea of launching courses and workshops and just being able to offer stuff to artists that doesn't require them to necessarily hire me, which is a bottleneck for many artists who are starting out. So I'm currently very actively here in Thailand, building courses and workshops and just very low ticket items that would allow artists to start selling and putting themselves out there because I'm very passionate about just artists stepping into their power. I'm a believer that the world needs art. Unlike what most people think, I think art is a necessity. Like I would not want to live in a world where art doesn't exist. And I think as more artists step into that power and as they claim that they can expand this mission, and every artist has a mission sometimes and it's not as clear to them, and that's also something that I help with, like trying to put narratives around like why you are creating this thing out of all the things you can create. It's usually a story of alchemy that is happening behind the scene. So it's they went through something, it was painful, or there was a story, and now there's alchemizing that into art. So really making them understand that and then being able to put narrative and words around it and then turn that into a website and put themselves out there and actually be able to connect with people who also resonate with that story. That is something that I'm actually working on right now.
And you escaped the Canadian winter.
That I did. And I got
Yes.
Yeah, and I got here, Fran. It was when I got on the plane in Montreal was the last place I was at in January. It was like negative 20 degrees. When I got off the plane here in Thailand, it was 32 degrees.
Uh-huh.
So big shift.
Yes. I can
Yeah.
imagine you'll probably be there for another couple of months. Yes.
Yes, I plan to avoid the rest of the winter for now.
Yes, I would too if I were you. You know, while you were talking about the earth inside the plastic bag and how we seem to be trading in the beauty of our own planet for the garbage of it all, you know, what came to me was I think about all the garbage that Amazon packages in, like all that whether it's cardboard or the bubble wrap or all of that excess, if you were to make an exhibit about that, I think that most people in North America could really understand that because I mean, as the prices go up, we start buying more from Amazon, and yet there's that guilt, right? We end up with all that packaging. And like you said, most of that stuff ends up in a landfill anyway. Uh, got any ideas?
I love that idea. I hadn't thought about Amazon particularly, although I think that's really smart. But for a while, I've had an idea to build more art from collected plastic from the ocean.
Mhm.
And I've been kind of putting that out there. I haven't, and I want to really do, and I even have like ideas around what to build to bring a little bit of like that storytelling element to life as well. For example, one of the projects that I'm low-key working on is visualizing the amount of plastic that each of us uses per year. So for instance, as a Canadian, the average is around 150 kilograms per year. Now, we don't have a sense of that. That doesn't mean much to us, especially plastic is very light, but like to show what 150 kilograms of plastic is, like to be able to like show that and make people sense it. So I want to make art to put feelings and emotions around data. And I want to do that by repurposing plastic that has been collected from the waters. So if you're an NGO listening and you have a good chunk of this out there, let's collaborate. I really want to make some art.
You know, you said 150 kilograms, correct? So if we were to transfer that into pounds, what is that, 350 pounds or so? I've got all
Yeah.
kinds of ideas, right? I mean, having a 350-pound human that you have to carry, or, all of that. 350 pounds, that's significant. That's almost like when I think about that, that's, you can't even drag that much, let alone carry it. I don't think I could drag it. So that's significant. That almost puts me into a different place. You even telling me that, it's like we've got to do something. I've got to do something different. I'm one person, but just creating that ripple effect, even just me. Stop it. Just stop it, Fran, right? About not everything needs to be bought in plastic. And I'm that older generation where it was just, we kind of just did that. My children that are in their early 30s, they're so much better than I am with this type of stuff. So, yeah,
But yeah, you got it, Fran. That's exactly the type of thing I want to build. So
yeah.
let's manifest it together here.
Let's do it. So, when you say the name of your business, artist, when I see it, I see art is tech, but you say it differently. How do you say it?
So it's like the word artistic, but instead of TIC at the end, it's tech as in technology at the end.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
Artterra. How do you spell Artterra?
Artterra is ARTTERRA. So double T, double R.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
in art of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Art. Yeah. So how do we get a hold of you? If I do end up having an NGO that is watching our show today, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can reach out on any of my platforms. You can find me on any of my businesses. It'll eventually reach me. But I also share a lot of my own art on my personal art website, parisafinearts.com. I also have my Instagram handle is the same, Parisa Fine Arts. Also LinkedIn. You can just search me on LinkedIn. I try to keep my LinkedIn up to date as well. So you can see all the range of projects that I do across engineering and art on there as well.
What's your final message of hope, Parisa, for those of us? And there are people that are watching this that really feel like I hope they have someplace ready for me on Mars. What's your message of hope for them?
As an Iranian, especially these days, it's been a really hard time, not only from an environmental standpoint, but because of everything that's happening in the country. And I've been experiencing a lot of hopelessness. As a generally positive person, I've been finding it hard as well. It's just a very difficult time for us as a species, I think, on this planet. But I was thinking of it the other day as one of my friends was telling me that she just became an aunt. And I was really thinking that of the quote that every new baby that is born is another message that God hasn't given up on us. And I thought that was beautiful. As long as we still stand, there's still hope. There's still something we can do. And we still owe it to these newborns and children and the next generation that comes after us, even if it is something small. Because I keep telling myself that if I lose hope and I don't do anything, where else is it going to take me? Like I'm going to be in the same situation anyway, so I might as well go down with a fight.
Love
That's
that.
yeah,
Yeah, go down with a fight and do everything we can, right?
yeah.
Continue, even on the hard days, even just those baby steps, just having your website up and just inspiring art to make people aware that they have they have choices. We have choices. We can buy that item that's fully encased in this hard plastic, or we don't have to buy that item. We can buy something else. We have a choice. Every plastic bottle, every garbage bag, we do have choices. So thank you, Parisa, for all of your wisdom and all the things that you're doing to bring hope to the planet and help us believe that there's something better that's that's maybe just born, this little human that's just been born. So thank you. And thank you for everyone who has joined us today. If this is your first time watching the Hopenning, welcome. Every week we will bring you hope in some way, type, or form. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. The button is right down there. It'll help to bring Parisa's message out. It'll help to bring our message of hope out, and that you're always welcome here. So thank you. Thank you, Parisa.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you do. It helps amplify the work of people like myself, so I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. You take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
This podcast and inspired healing hypnotherapy do not provide medical advice. The information included here is not limited to text, graphics, images, or other material contained, and are for informational purposes only. No material in this podcast is intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen. And never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this site.